Today we have our speaker, Angel Santiago, and he'll be talking about you gotta let it play out. And and so he helps look at the way that we want to grow and succeed and be happy. But how do we constantly pushing away and trying to control the situations that will provide us with just that? We go through life doing whatever we can to avoid the struggle, failure, and pain. We're so focused on trying to get it right and not to get it wrong that we're constantly interfering in our lives, not letting situations play out as they are supposed to, and thus delaying our growth. So here's Angel Santiago, certified coach, life coach.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. Good morning. It's good to see each and every one of you. And those of you that are on Facebook, I say hello to you. So let's dive in. Here's a quote by James N. Watkins. It says, "A river cuts through rock, not because of its power, but because of its persistence." Like Tam just read, we want to grow, succeed, and be happy, but we're constantly pushing away and trying to control the situations that will provide us with just that, right? We go through life doing whatever we can to avoid struggle, failure, and pain. We're so focused on trying to get it right and not get it wrong that we're constantly interfering in our lives, not letting situations play out as they're supposed to, and thus we delay our growth. It's like we're in our own hamster wheels and we're the ones making them. We don't want failure to happen at all, that our successes seem to never arrive. Well, that's because we may have an unhealthy relationship with failure. You see, most believe that failure isn't an option. We grew up in a culture that taught us that. Well, if that's the case, then success isn't going to be an option either, because failure isn't the opposite of success, it's an integral step towards it. Let's think about this for a minute. Take a second or two to think about your own definition of failure. How do you define failure? Just kind of think about that for a few seconds. How do you define failure? The way I define failure is simply a learning opportunity. There's something there that's going to help me learn from the step that I took so that I can take the next step much better. And I want to share with you how some of the greats in my book define failure. First one is John C. Maxwell. He's probably like the biggest leadership guru in the United States, maybe in the world. He says the difference between the average person and the achieving person is their perception of and response to failure. Thomas Edison, "I have not failed. I have only found 10,000 ways that don't work." Coco Chanel, "Success is most often achieved by those who don't know that failure is inevitable." Henry Ford, "Failure is only the opportunity more intelligently to begin again." J.K. Rowling, "It is impossible to live without failing at something unless you live so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all, in which case you have failed by default." Do you see how these individuals define or perceive failure? Now let's take a look at your definition again. Is that how you want to define failure from here on out? Or do you want to adopt a little bit of what these individuals have shared into your own definition of failure? If that's the case, I would encourage you to take some time today, after this talk, at some point, to be very intentional and redefine what failure means to you and how do you want to see it from here on out. Because I believe that we all want the best for ourselves. We all have a burning desire to succeed. That's why you're part of this community. That's why you're listening to this talk. But desire isn't enough. You see, not wanting to fail is not realistic. I mean, think about it. Anytime that we start anything new, something that we've never done before, there's going to be a learning process to it. That means that we're going to have a period of time where we're not going to be getting it right, where we're going to be making mistakes, and we're not going to be very good at that thing. In other words, we're going to fail. How could you expect not to? Now, before I became a coach, I was a dance instructor. I had a dance company, a dance studio, and I traveled the world teaching people how to dance salsa. I would often get one or two students on their very first class, on their very first basic class, first time ever, and they would be struggling, and they would get very frustrated and very disappointed. And then I would walk over and I would ask them, why are they so frustrated? And they would tell me, well, because I'm not getting it. And I would ask, is this your first time? Yes, this is my first time. Well, did you expect to get it on your first day? And they say, yes, of course I did. And it's like, what makes you think that? Well, because I'm an adult and I should know better. And I have no idea where do adults or grown-ups get this idea that somehow their learning process skips them simply because they grew up and now they're grown-ups and they're adults. And that somehow the learning and failing, it only applies when we were kids. You see, most expect the path of least resistance and the path of least amount of effort. They don't want to put in the work. They want to just snap their fingers and make it happen immediately and immediately become a success story. And the truth is, success doesn't work that way. No matter how we decide to do, it's going to ask a lot out of us, and it's going to take effort. And it is precisely that effort that will produce results for you. So what does it take to make it happen? Well, number one, you have to have that burning desire to do something. That means that you're extremely interested in or want to do it very much so. I mean, it's one of those things where you would even do it for free. That's how much interest and passion you have for this thing. Number two, you want to be clear on your purpose. This is the one goal that is the most important to you at the moment. Your desire for this goal must be so intense that the very idea of achieving it excites you, fulfills you, and makes you happy. Number three, you got to show up. This is about rising to the occasion each and every time, ready to perform. Number four, you got to put in that extraordinary effort, dedication, and devotion. If we want to be successful, it takes doing a little bit more than usual. To achieve something extraordinary, it's going to take extraordinary effort. And then lastly, you got to have unwavering faith. And I believe this is probably the hardest one to do. This is about having complete confidence, complete trust beyond any doubt, and having that perseverance that you will make it happen. What happens here when it comes to faith is that we only think that when bad things are happening or the challenges come our way, that they're coming to stop us or to get in the way or prevent us from getting there. And the truth is, the challenges that are coming your way are actually coming to help you. They're actually, I like to see them as like my comrade in arms. They're with me to help me find these battles. And oftentimes I compare it to a pinball machine. When you think about a pinball machine, you have your buttons on the side and you have your flaps that hit the ball. If I were to label the little flaps, one good for good experiences, one bad for bad experiences, are you only going to play with the flap that says good experiences? If you do that, the ball's going to go through the little hole and you're going to keep losing. You actually need both to help you get the ball up to the top to score the most points as possible, right? They're both experiences are helping you get there. It's just that we're seeing the challenges and the blocks and the obstacles as something that's in our way, and they're not. They're actually helping us. So earlier this week, I finished an anime show that I was watching. It's about a volleyball team, and in Japan, they're huge in volleyball. Volleyball is like a huge sport for them. And this particular team they're pretty new. They have some talent, they have a lot of potential, but they're pretty new playing together and they were struggling. The coaches thought, let's send them to a summer spring camp. And not a summer spring camp, a summer camp, right? Summer camp, whether we're going to train and play with some of the top teams in their region. Well, they must have played like over 60 sets of volleyball and they only won like 3. That's how bad they were. But that also says how good the other teams were, right? But after every game they lost or every set they lost, the camp had a rule. They either had to run laps, they either had to dive, like if they were going to save a ball around the court, or they had to run up and down a hill. So they had to do some kind of skill, right? Repetitive and over and over and over and over again. That team came out of that camp the strongest out of all the teams. They went all the way to nationals because they lost so much that they became so good because they took every loss so seriously, and it was a learning opportunity for them and an opportunity to get stronger. At the end, the team was like, they couldn't wait to practice with like even better teams so they can lose to them, so they can see what they were going to learn, what they were going to grow. In fact, the best spiker of that team, he was the fastest, the highest that can jump, and one of the best spikers. He kept getting blocked by the other team, right? They kept blocking him. And he couldn't figure out a way around that. So the coach told the setter, he said, keep setting to him. And the setter was a little confused because he was like, listen, they already figured him out. Like, they're going to keep blocking him. It's like, it doesn't matter. Keep setting to him because he needs to find a way around this block. If we take him out of the game, if we stop setting to him, he's never going to figure a way past this obstacle. So keep setting to him, keep giving him the opportunity to hit the ball and figure a way around that. The easiest way out would have been, well, just sit him down or just don't set him the ball anymore. Let's set it to someone else. But that would have that would have hindered his growth. And sure enough, he did figure out a way around it, and he was able to find a way to score again. But he had to keep showing up to the same challenge and keep failing, something that we're not so good at. So whatever it is you're going after, whether it's work related or in your personal life or in your spiritual life, whatever it is you're going after, are you going to struggle? Yes. Are you going to experience failure? Yes. Are you going to feel some pain? Yes. But these are the very same things that will cause you to improve. If you never experience failure, you'll never see what needs to improve. And that's part of the process. It's a process that requires patience to see it through. And if you want it to happen fast, like a lot of people out there, they're like, that microwave generation, they just want it to happen yesterday. If you want it to happen that fast, honestly, it's probably not going to be worth it. And besides, fast puts at risk all of the reward. I remember hearing a story about a man who wanted to be a black belt in karate. And he decided, he started Googling. He's like, I'm going to find the best studio or the best dojo with the best master. And that's where I'm going to go get my black belt in karate. He was an older man, he was, older. And so he thought that because he was older, he needed to go a little bit quicker to save the time that he missed, right? And so he went up he found the teacher, he found the student who went up to him and he goes, teacher, I'm very interested in getting my black belt in karate. How long will it take me? And the teacher said, well, with dedication, if you show up to practices and classes and you practice, within 10 years, you'll be a black belt. He was like, oh, no. That's too long. I need this to happen like sooner than later. Like, what if I'm retired. So what if I spend like all day, 8 hours or 10 hours a day practicing? If I come to all the classes and I come on the weekends, like what if I put all that work? How long will it take me then? And he says, well, in that case, you're never going to be a black belt because you're going to miss the things that happen along the journey that are going to help you get there by taking shortcuts, right? You're not going to get there. You have to give it the proper time. You have to honor the process, honor your timeline. There's a process to it all. And if anybody saw The Matrix, or if you remember The Matrix, when Neo goes to see the Oracle to find out if he was the one, right? The Oracle tells him, you already know the answer to that question. And Neo says, I'm not the one. Bingo, kid. You get some talent, but maybe next time. He goes off thinking that he's not the one. But that's precisely what he needed to hear. Because if they would have told him that day, yeah, you are the one, he would have walked out thinking he's the one. And the process and the experiences that happened to him that allowed him to believe in himself to become the one wouldn't have happened. Because he would have walked out thinking, I'm already the one. Everything that happened to him led to him discovering within himself that he was the one. So those are the things we cannot escape that. That's why I'm saying we have to let our experiences play out so that we can get to the growth, so that we can get to the lesson, so that we can get to the insight that we were supposed to get from that experience. And so I repeat, you have to honor and respect your timeline, for it is precisely that timeline and the things that are going to happen along the way that will prepare you for your success. All the years of experience and development that you have invested in yourself, those are the things that are going to get you there. So you got to remember that your challenges or your failures are there to support you and aid your growth, not hinder it. You just have to know that and trust that. Thank you very much.